everyone, it's Em and Liv, and we're your PsycKicks.
What's up?
You like my song?
Yeah, that's great.
It's because I'm tired.
This is our second podcast we've recorded today.
Yes, and we're going to be talking about the Clairs. Clairsentience, Clairvoyance, Clairaudience, Claircognizance,
Sentience.
Clairalience, and Clairgustance.
Yeah, and if you don't know, Clair means clear in French. So this is all clear feeling, clear seeing, clear hearing, clear sentence, clear taste. Oh, and clear thoughts.
Yes.
You know.
Just
a whole bunch of stuff.
The metaphysical things.
And Liv's a psychic medium, and she gets all of them. And we're going to explain to you today how this stuff comes through, so you may also have a few of these clairs as well, and may not even know it. So we're going to give you a few methods that will allow you to, channel down your ego so that you are able to receive the messages that are coming to you, because you may not realize that you are receiving messages.
But we're going to start by explaining what the clairs are first, and how at least we receive them in certain ways, I guess.
Yeah, because it's different for every single person. And one of the things that we want to emphasize is, even if these aren't the ways you experience these clairs, it is not the only way. A lot of times when people go on the internet and try to figure out how to strengthen their clairs, they become blocked because they don't understand why they aren't receiving information in a certain way. And this blocks them from actually listening to the messages that are coming in a different way. So we can't sit here and tell you how things come in for you. We're just going to tell you from our experience to kind of explain things that possibly could be happening to you, to open up your mind and open up your intuition on messages that you are receiving.
Yeah, it's mostly about ego, because these things are probably already happening to you to a certain extent, whether it's the way we describe it or it's not, or something that resonates with you personally about what we're talking about. But it's your ego that goes, nah, that can't be happening, because it doesn't make any sense. So first step is always trying to tone down the ego. Second step is having a best friend to talk to these things about that doesn't judge you or gaslight you more than you gaslight yourself.
Which a lot of people don't have that.
Yeah.
So I feel like you can talk to your spirit guides. You just need to figure out how they are talking back.
Yeah. But let's start with the first clair. And as Emma's already said, clair just means clear in French, because I guess the French were like, we're going to name these metaphysical things. And it starts with Clairaudience, because it's what Em has. She has Clairaudience and Clairsentience and Claircognizance.
I have Clairvoyance too.
We're going to talk about it. So Clairaudience, if you don't know, means clear hearing. And it's usually described as either audibly or inside your head hearing voices, almost like it's your own. But I guess if it's outside of your head, it would be someone else's voice. But as a psychic medium, I don't get that outside of my head, because that's creepy. And I tell spirits to not do that, because it's rude. Like, you want to have someone whisper in your ear?
That's scary.
Exactly. So I'm like, get that shit out of here.
So she asks for it to not be received in that way. She has it in her head instead of physically hearing it through her ears.
Yeah.
Which is a possibility if you have clairaudience. You could hear voices. You could hear voices inside your head, like an inner monologue, but it's obviously not your own thoughts. It's someone else's. A lot of people who have clairaudience tend to have inner monologue inside their head. So they are essentially speaking and having conversations with themselves. And for me, when I get, like a disembodied voice from the beyond.
Wow.
It kind of like interrupts my thoughts. So I'm like spewing out this conversation with my inner monologue. And then all of a sudden I will hear my voice, because if I hear someone else's voice, that would be off-putting. I hear my voice say something and I'm like, where did that come from? Because it literally interrupts what I'm saying. And I'm like, I was talking about something else. I don't know what I'm talking about now, but that was definitely my voice.
I think it's funny that you just said it would be weird if I got someone else's voice in my head that wasn't my own, because that would be off-putting. And literally, because I'm queuing up to talk about Zarath because I hear his voice, and he literally just mocked you in the same tone, like the same way you say it. Nah.
Zarath is my spirit guide. He's a big cloud being, and his voice is, Olivia describes it as like a thunderclap, like super deep and low.
But he literally just mocked you,
That's
but within your voice. He put your voice in my head to mock you.
Does he talk in my head in my voice?
He said yes.
No, is he the one that says things? Because he's very sassy.
He said it's not just him, it's the
Okay.
other one too.
Yeah, because I feel like the one on my shoulder talks me too.
And he's
With
like, don't
voice.
tell people that.
What?
He doesn't like when we talk about him. It's funny. So did you want to talk more about your clairaudience? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have a lot of weird things. So when you're a clairaudience, a lot of things that happen, like, I don't know, symptom-wise. When I was a child, I had a lot of problems with my ears, and I was very sensitive to loud noises. So I did not prefer going into movie theaters. I did not like fireworks. I hated all of those things because it was like intensely loud for me. And I had like ear infections my entire life because I have such sensitive ears. So I feel like those are sometimes I don't know, like a symptom or like a sign to show you that you are clairaudient. And another thing that I've been doing that I did not realize is clairaudience is when I am listening to something like in a room. So the best example would be to use music. So if you're listening to music, you want to, I don't know, pick out an instrument or like a vocal, and you turn down all of the other instruments. So let's say there's a piano. You would be listening to the piano, and then you would turn down the volume of all of the other instruments and vocalists so that you just hear the piano. That's kind of a way to strengthen your clair, but at the same time, I just did that.
And when she means by like turn down the music besides the specific thing that you're listening to, so she means like tune it out almost, like focus in and zero in on one portion of the music. So say you're listening to a normal like pop song and you have all the different pieces that come together to make it music. Try to focus on one portion of it, like she said, the piano or a different instrument of your choosing, and try to only focus on that portion of the music. I guess that's supposed to help, as Em says, strengthen clairaudience, but that's something that I've always done. Because It's funny, we literally sat down to make our video this morning, and she's like, I didn't think that you'd actually have Clair research done. I was like, no. I told you I was going to be here real early in the morning, and we were going to get 2 videos and 2 podcasts done, so I'm here. Boom, baby. And she's like, all right, well, do you know how to strengthen these clairs? Because that's what people want to know. And I was like, no. And she's like, well,
she tried to give me some backsass and was like, you can't strengthen them because that's like some, I don't know, people pay for that crap and it's all a hooey, like a scam.
Yes.
But it's not strengthening it. It is literally realizing it's there. Trying to not explain it away. You're essentially, what's the word I'm trying to look for? You're like trying to get away from your ego. You're trying to lower the chance of you trying to tell yourself that you're making it up. That is what I mean by strengthening.
Yeah,
but
I didn't get that. Well, because I don't think about it that way. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Liv has had this happen to her since she was about 8 years old. So a lot of things she doesn't question because it's just is. It's just how it is. But when you all of a sudden start listening to your intuition and your clairs and things like that, you're going to have a lot of questions and you're going to be like, what is this? I'm making all of this up. This is a joke. Like you're kidding.
And we're here to tell you, no, it's not a joke. It's just your clairs.
Yeah, so there are a lot of ways to strengthen your clairs. But again, don't rely on those because it's going to come differently for everyone. And it might block you if you decide, oh, I can't turn the volume down on things. Well, that's okay. It probably comes in differently for you.
Because Em said, like, for her, she used to be able to sit in a really loud study hall and cram her reading material in before her reading class, but the study hall was really loud. That's not something I could do. And she said that she literally would tune out the loudness around her so that she could zero in on her book, even though she hates reading.
Yeah, I didn't hear it.
I would not be able to do that. I would literally split myself in half, because when I'm doing things, say I'm in a room talking to people and a television is on, and the television is a little bit too loud maybe for me personally, I cannot focus on what the person is talking about, because I'm focusing on what is being said on the television, not what's being said in front of me. And it's really hard for me to do that because I'm zeroing in on something else, not the person speaking to me.
Yeah.
Because I can see the person physically in front of me. So I'm like, okay, I don't necessarily have to pay attention to you because I can physically see you, but I can't physically see what's going on in the television. So my mind's like, you have to pay attention to that because you're not actually looking at it.
Yeah, clairaudience is one of my strongest psychic gifts. And one of the things that happens a lot for me is volume type things.
Yes, please share that because it's so cool. It blows my mind.
I don't know how it happens, and I'm still like explaining it away because I'm like, that didn't happen. That's
but it
not
did
real.
happen because I verified it and validated you by talking to Moose himself. It literally was 2 different ways of solving an issue.
Okay, so I have this beta fish, and his name's Moose.
He's so cute and old.
And he was having a problem in his fish tank. They were like these white bugs, and he was like cold and all of this stuff. And he, as a fish, was telling Liv. However, during that week, the fish tank was just so unbelievably loud, and I just like couldn't stand being in that room. So I cleaned the fish tank multiple times because I was like, this filter must need to be clean. There must need to be water in it. Something about the filter is not right. And after cleaning it twice, I was like, okay, I'm just going to go get a new filter because I can't stand the sound of it. It's so loud. And then when Liv came over, she talked to Moose because she's a pet psychic. And like I said, Moose said, I'm cold. I don't feel good. There's these white bugs all over the tank. Like, fix it. So we sanitize everything in the tank and clean everything. And once we did that, the filter was quiet. And I didn't have to go get another filter.
Because the filter wasn't actually loud. It just was the problem in the room. And that's how she was able to perceive it metaphysically, was that it physically itself was louder. Like, hey, pay attention to me. Figure it out. There's something wrong over here. And she was like, no, it's just a filter that's really loud.
Oh my God, this filter's so annoying.
So even though Em and I came across the same issue and were able to figure it out, it's just the way that we perceived it metaphysically. I talked to Moose, but she heard that there was something wrong with the thing that he was living in.
Yeah.
Which is, it literally blows my mind. I love it.
I explained it away. I'm like, that didn't happen. You dreamed that.
No, it's great. So, like, what else? I hear Em's spirit guide in my head, but I don't.
Liv actually hears his voice. She doesn't hear, like, her version, like, her voice as my spirit guide, except for, like, right now. But that's beside the point. She actually hears different people's voices in her head.
Yeah.
Which is so cool.
Yeah, his voice is like very deep and booming because he's
masculine.
A cloud.
Because he's a masculine cloud.
Like a thunder cloud.
Yeah.
And her
That's
other
awesome.
new guide, he talks like this. It's really, really high. And he helps with her words. I don't really hear anything from Rosaline because she doesn't really talk to me. She
doesn't really want to talk to you. Also, she's very claircognizance-y.
Mm-hmm.
That's mostly how she talks to me because it's just quicker and more efficient. She's fucking Virgo. That's literally, why would she speak any other way?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's quick and to the point. Doesn't go through anything.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when I'm giving readings to people and the souls that I'm talking to for them are from a different place because we're from the Midwest, and I was giving readings to some people that were from the South, and they'll make me say words like mama or fussin', and those are not words that people where we from are saying. So
yeah, with that as well, another thing with clairaudience is when you are speaking, a lot of times the spirits will, I don't know, like change what you're saying or sway you in some way to make you say a certain thing. Mm-hmm. So like when I'm reading tarot, a lot of times I will just start spewing out what the cards mean, and the spirits around me will manipulate what I'm saying in order to make them make sense to the person I'm talking to, because there's all like interpretations of that and stuff, but they essentially speak for me almost, but not like that in that way.
You know how when you hang out with a group of people and you become really close with them and then you start talking like them and it just makes everything easier conversationally for you? That's what happens with Clairaudience too, because spirits or spirit guides or Em's guides, no matter whether she's reading tarot cards or I'm giving a reading, the spirits will make us sound a certain way so that it resonates with the person that we're talking to. Almost like if we were hanging out with them and we speak like them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Like you get things from certain people because you're around them. So you get like a certain dialect, or like you say certain phrases that you don't say normally because when you're around them, you pick up things so that you fit in with them.
Yeah. So clairaudience is not just hearing things, but it's also saying things the way someone might say that as well.
Yeah.
So.
A manipulation of sound, aka you speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going on to clairvoyance, which means clear seeing. So clairvoyance, seeing. And
clear seeing, clairvoyance, clear seeing, clear. What?
Clear!
Clear!
So it says that things can manifest physically within someone's actual vision, or it is seeing things within your mind almost as like a movie, or I like to say like daydreaming or thoughts or memories. So I don't see things physically anymore. When I was a child, I used to watch our first YouTube video, but I was like, that's scary. Please don't show me dead people without faces in front of me. No, thank you. So now I just see everything in my mind, but I'm also a very visual person, so it's easier for them to communicate that way with me. Plus, I feel like it would take less energy because they don't have to physically manifest in front of me.
Right.
So I get thoughts. I get images, but it could be memories of the person that I'm talking to, like the soul that I'm talking to. They'll show me memories or things that happened within their lives while they were alive. They'll also show me memories and things that have happened within my life, as well as things and memories that have happened to the person that I'm talking to as well, all to get information and answers through to the person that I'm talking to.
Yeah. So people who have clairvoyance a lot of times are very visual people. They think in images rather than having an inner monologue or thoughts or things like that. And one of the ways to strengthen this is to have a dream journal and just write your dreams in there, because this kind of opens up your mind to realize the details within your dream and kind of open your mind to having this be like a real thing, if that makes sense. You're opening your like intuition to, I don't know, your imagination or your daydreams in your head.
Or if you're just a really good, vivid, avid dreamer anyways, like me, try to write those down maybe. Or if you don't feel like you need to write them down, just replay them in your head. I can tell you what I was dreaming about before I woke up, and it was weird.
You're clairvoyant already. It's more like you accept that it's happening to you. That's what writing it down is doing.
Oh, it's moving your ego out of the way. Got it. Makes sense.
Moving your ego out of the way.
Yeah.
You've already got that open. You don't. You remember things because you already accept it.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I get, as a medium during readings, I'll get characteristics of the souls that I'm talking to. Oh, but my favorite is when spirit will give me layouts of people's houses. That is my absolute favorite, honestly. It's great. I love it. Oh, and then for clairvoyance, I wanted to say, I was learning when I was researching the clairs. I mean, I kind of know what they already are, but I also wasn't entirely sure because I don't read about them as much as Emily does, or maybe others. But according to parapsychologists, which are the field of pseudoscientists, because unfortunately that's what I have to say, pseudoscientists that study the paranormal or metaphysical classify the psychic abilities of past, present, and future, which I just usually call the tenses because past, present, future. They classify the psychic tenses within the category of clairvoyance. And they say that past is called retrocognition. The psychic ability of present is called remote viewing. And the psychic ability of future, they call precognition. So you have retrocognition of the past, remote viewing of the present, and precognition of the future. And this just made me think about, for the present clairvoyance, that they call remote viewing, it made me think about when we do TikTok lives and I see what people are doing while they're responding to our TikToks. God.
Yeah, no, she has this ability when she's pulling cards for people. She's literally like, Jane, turn on a light. Why are you sitting in darkness? Because she can literally sense that they're in their room, I don't know, on TikTok in the dark.
In the dark. Well, I think it's funny because they call it remote viewing, but that really is what it's like because I'll see people like I'm standing a little bit farther away from them. Like I don't get it claircognizantly. I get it clairvoyantly. Like I literally will see you in your room on your bed with your phone stuffed in your face in the dark.
Watching us on TikTok.
Watching us on TikTok.
Wait, do you see us? Do you see yourself saying that to them? Because that would be fucking wild.
What? No, not on the phone screen. I just see them.
Oh, so you can't see what they're watching? What the heck? You better tune in on that shit.
I don't want to do that. That's a little too intrusive.
You're already intrusive.
But I just thought it was funny that they call it remote viewing, and I was like, oh, it's like what I do on TikTok.
Which, make sure you guys follow us on TikTok for all of that free reading crap that we do on there as of right now.
Yeah, we try to make our lives fun. But anyways, I thought that was hilarious. And I also think it's interesting that for the entire field of parapsychology, they only take clairvoyance into past, present, and future. Because, I mean, I get past, present, and future information, and I don't just see it clairvoyantly. I'll get it with all of the other clairs as well. Maybe well, no, because I get taste and smell for food, and that's present.
Mm-hmm. So is that just the only other one? Like, do you hear things from the past?
Yes.
Yeah.
I literally was hearing people screaming in their insane asylum cells today while my mother was telling her story on our podcast that comes out, before this one? And that was in the past. We talk about
it in the podcast. It's in the video.
It's in the video.
Better go follow us on YouTube.
So I could physically hear people screaming from the past.
Yeah.
Clairaudience.
Clairaudience. If you wanted anything more terrifying.
So if anybody is listening to this and you're a parapsychologist or know anybody in the field of parapsychology,
tell them to do that for some more clairs.
Oh, tell them to come talk to me. I would love to do some spiritual testing and stuff like that. To an extent. I won't do any weird stuff like that. But if you want to have my input, maybe, on past, present, and future, it's not just clairvoyantly. We get it using all the other clairs, too. So...
Right.
Anyways, moving on. Wait, did you want to talk anything else about clairvoyance, clairseeing? Okay.
Okay, so
Emily.
A lot of times with
Emily,
what?
I love you.
I love you more.
Okay. Okay. Leo, need validation.
A lot of times with clairvoyance, this is apparently just for me because Liv is the opposite. When I get clairvoyance, a lot of times it's my spirit guides trying to make me think about something so that they can explain it with our next Claircognizance. So Claircognizance is clear thought. And what I was explaining is I will see something and it will make me think of a certain thing. And because I'm thinking of, I don't know, they'll show me oranges and I'll think of oranges. And claircognizantly, they will bring up thoughts about the orange so that I can understand why I'm seeing it. But for Liv, I think it's the opposite, right?
Yeah, I'll get an answer to something, like a claircognizant knowing, because that's what claircognizance is. It's just a knowing about things, and you have, like, no idea where it comes from. But I will get a claircognizant thought, and then they explain it to me with clairvoyance.
Claircognizance is one of those things that is very hard to validate. It's also very hard to strengthen because it is literally, there's no process. It's just is.
Yeah. It would be like walking down the street or something and just knowing that a car is going to crash into a mailbox on the other side. And then like 3 seconds later, the car crashes into the mailbox on the other side of the street that you're walking on. And you're like, I knew that was going to happen.
So the way that it comes in for me is I need to be thinking about something, and then all of a sudden I will get thoughts about what I'm thinking about, and this kind of explains it. The best way I can say it is that they usually use my memories because it's something I already know, and it's kind of like they put the memories in a folder, and I don't need to see the memories. I don't need to hear the memories. I just know what they are because I've already experienced them. And when I experience or when I am thinking about a certain thing, they will just bring that folder up and be like, these two things go together. We don't need to show you them. You already know about them. And this explains what you are feeling, seeing, thinking about at the moment.
I have to sneeze. Wait, do I have another one? Okay, maybe. Oh.
So people who have claircognizance, usually they think in thoughts, or they have the ability to think in thoughts, which again, thoughts are not seeing something visually. It is not hearing your inner monologue. You literally just have
a complete knowing and understanding about something, and you don't actually have to do it.
You don't need to go through the process of like seeing or hearing it. You just know.
Yeah. So, in like an example of this, when I am doing client readings, is I will ask my client, do you have a question in general? Like, do you have any questions? And before they say what their question is, I get a yes or no or maybe, or I get a knowing about whatever it is that they're going to ask me a question about. And then while they're asking me the question, I already know the answer to the question. And by the time they're done giving me their question, I can explain to them why the answer it is what it is, because when they were explaining the question to me, the souls were showing me the reasoning behind why the answer to the question that they're about to ask is what it is. And that's about how fast it comes out.
Yeah. One of the validations for claircognizance is it comes in faster than you can make it up, essentially, is how I think about it.
And sometimes I feel so dumb doing readings because the spirits will show me things so fast in relation to whatever this question is that I have to like process it for a second and then be like, okay, this is what they showed me and this is why. Because it's just, again, it's a knowing. So you literally have the entire situation or the portion of the situation that you need to understand, and you already know all of it. So now it's almost like you have to backtrack to explain what you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you didn't go through the process of figuring it out. You just know it.
Yeah. So it's harder to backtrack to tell you how we got it or why we got it than.
Yeah. A lot of people they struggle with this one in like separating themselves from their ego because you just know. But like I said, you don't have enough time to think up something. You don't have enough time to make this up. When you just get a thought, that is claircognizance. That is from somewhere else.
And the way I like to explain it, at least for me, I don't think in complete whole thoughts because I don't think I'm that smart.
I do.
Em does because she's a Virgo and her computer
takes too long to not.
Yeah, her brain is a computer. But for me, I don't think that way. I don't have complete thoughts in a split second. So I think in inner monologue or dialogue, and I also think in images. So that's mostly why I get clairvoyance is probably my strongest clair, I would say personally, just because that's how I think.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah.
Because you get, essentially, you get images and then everything else explains it.
Yes.
Whereas I get thoughts and sounds and then everything else explains that.
See, so Em and I are not the same.
Yeah.
So if something's different for you, let it be different. That's who you are. It's how information comes in for you.
So another thing with claircognizance, which I think is funny because Liv hates it.
Oh, well, that's the thing I was going to say.
Yeah.
I know that I'm getting claircognizant information when I have complete and total thoughts understood and knowing about something, because that's not how I think. I'm like, that is definitely coming from somewhere else.
But yeah, my favorite thing about it is because when someone is trying to teach me how to do something, I will just know how to do it just because they went into the intention of showing me. You don't even need to show me. I already know how to do it because you just wanted to tell me how to do it. You went in with the intention, so now I know. So I catch on things very easily because I just get a knowing of how things are done and the right way to do it just because.
I wish I could do that.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I was learning how to put nameplates on at work this one time, and they were training a few people, and they look at me and they're like, why are you doing this so well? And I'm like, I don't know. You just showed me how to do it and now I can do it. Like, I learn from watching people do it because of my claircognizance.
Got it. Makes sense.
Because a lot of people are like, you can't show her. She has to do it or she's not going to learn. I do not learn from doing. I learn from watching someone do it first. It's interesting.
I like to watch. No, I like to watch people do things too.
Yeah. You get a knowing about it.
Well, also, they're not like in your space trying to show you what to do. You can watch them do it and be like, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I don't want to discount the person that I was reading information about, but they also said that sometimes it feels like knowledge pours into the top of their head.
I've been thinking about that.
Have you?
Mm-hmm.
Because the person that I got this information from, they're just definitions, honestly. But the person is different from me. And I was like, okay, interesting. I'm not going to discount anything you're saying. I'm really just here for definitions so that I make sure that I'm saying the right things. Because for some reason I like to switch up clairvoyance and clairsentience. But you do you. And this, everybody is different. So if somebody literally feels like knowledge is pouring through the top of their head, cool beans. But I don't experience that. So I just wanted to hopefully put it in here.
I've been thinking about that.
Uh-huh.
You know how I told you or I explained to you that I get a tingling in my head? That's what's happening, I think.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I mean, it makes sense because it's your crown chakra, and your crown chakra is like the border between the realms, I think.
Well, I think it's just for claircognizance.
Okay.
Because obviously clairvoyance deals with the third eye chakra. And I know a lot of people that have issues like in that area in their forehead. When they start doing clairvoyant stuff, they'll have a pressure in their forehead.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I only have a pressure in my forehead when I'm around you.
because I get that.
It's because Emily suffers from chronic headaches, and I'm a clairsentient. And we're going to get into that next because it's not just about emotions. It's also about physical feelings.
So the next Clair is Clairsentience, which is clear feeling.
It says feelers or empaths are able to feel the emotions of others, which is interesting because that's mostly what people understand as clairsentience. But again, it's not just emotions.
This one is probably the most common that people will have because it directly affects your survival rate. You want to be able to socially understand the things around you so that you can keep yourself safe.
I have a new t-shirt idea.
Yeah?
You know, like the Got Milk t-shirts?
Okay.
It'll be like, got clairsentience, and then on the back it'll say, no, just trauma!
No, just trauma!
With like an upside down smiley face.
Yeah, because we were talking about in our video
how to know the difference between trauma and clairsentience.
Yeah, so I have a lot of trauma, and essentially when we were making that video, my spirit guide came in and was like, you know, you should tell Emily that she is clairsentient and it's not just trauma, because a lot of people who have trauma have indirectly used their clairsentience gift to keep themselves safe. So essentially what is happening is when you're going through traumatic events, you look to the people around you and you evaluate their emotions. And if their emotions start becoming negative, you pick up on that so that you are prepared for them to lash out you negatively.
Or you try to control them and bring them back down.
Yes. So that is very much strung up with trauma. And it's very confusing because, again, when we were talking about it in the video,
I was trying to explain a line, but it was really hard because it doesn't make sense. Yeah. And then we went to go get pizza and ice cream.
Yeah, we were filming another video, and I was thinking about it, and my spirit guides are, like, trying to explain that there isn't a line. It's like when you put your two hands together, one hand is trauma, and the other hand is clairsentience. They are one, and they're also separate parts. I don't know if that makes sense.
I have a question because I was just thinking about, okay, well, if you have trauma and clairsentience and they're one and the same, that would be emotional trauma. But what if you've had physical trauma? Are there any physical trauma people out there? Sorry if this sounds really weird, but like say you've had a knee surgery or a hip replacement or some sort of traumatic injury to like your leg, and then you walk around somewhere and without really even knowing it, you know that someone else has hurt their leg. And then when you talk to them, they talk about their traumatic leg injury. Do you think that could be a Clair?
Wouldn't that be Claircognizance?
Well, no, I feel like it would be Clairsentience because what if you're walking around and like
if you feel
that your leg is hurting, but you're like, it's not my leg, but then you know that the person that you're talking to feels the same pain as you because they went through a similar traumatic event.
Well, yeah, that would make sense.
Okay. I just wanted to know because we're only talking about like emotional trauma, but what about physical clairsentient trauma?
Well, yeah, that would go into physical clairsentience side effects. I need a different word for that.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
Signs.
But it's so weird. So then that's a good segue into the physical aspect of clairsentience where you physically feel things. So Em suffers from chronic headaches. And I would say 90% of the time, but I've been trying to work on it to like not be involved in her headaches, that I come over, don't have a headache. I don't have chronic headaches. And then I know exactly where her pain is and I will explain it to a T of how it feels and what side of her head it's, ailing.
And it moves around apparently.
Yeah, it does. It never goes the same. Right now, under your eyes hurt and the top of your head just around the sides. And down the sides of your neck behind your ears.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. You're welcome. It's like I'm wearing a ice bucket helmet clench wire thing. It's horrible. I hate it.
Yeah, this goes in the line with like sympathy pains and things like that.
God, if you have children, you're not allowed. I'm telling you right now, only I can have children because if you get pregnant and have babies and then like I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning puking because you're puking.
I'm going to be real honest. I probably would be in constant pain the entire time I'd be pregnant too. Because my body's like, there's something wrong. Alert, alert. You need to have a headache for 9 months straight.
There's an alien inside of me. God.
Yeah.
Not looking forward to that. So another example is one time I was giving a reading to a client. And she asked me about her health. And as soon as she said health, I got all this information. The clairsentient information was that my arms immediately started like prickling and itching and burning. And my joints were aching and almost like on fire. Long story short, she tells me she has fibromyalgia. And that's where her pain usually comes from, is on her arms. And I was like, that's a horrible feeling. Now I know what people that suffer from fibromyalgia feel like. Fibromyalgia.
You also felt my panic attacks in our spirit guide video.
Oh yeah, Zeroth made me feel that.
Was terrifying because I've never had my panic attack explained to me. Having your pain explained to you in detail is very interesting because you don't experience it like that because it's happening all at once. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's weird.
Well, I'm glad I could experience your panic attack.
You're welcome. No one else knows how that happens.
It's weird. I don't like it because her anxiety is different than mine. So
I have a panic disorder, and you probably just have generalized anxiety, and ADHD probably goes into that as well.
Yeah.
Which is completely different. So people who are clairsentient have the ability to essentially take on the emotions of other people around them. You can also sense the energy in a room. So if someone is like super angry and frustrated and then you walk into the room, for me, it's almost like I am like swimming through sludge. I can feel the energy oozing off of the person. But you can also just internally feel their emotions, their pain, all of that. You also can feel emotions off of like music and things like that. That would be a way to strengthen your clairsentience, is through music. You just need to establish a connection with the music and feel what emotions the singer or songwriter had when they were in the process of singing and writing it.
I cry a lot when I listen to music, even if it's a happy song. I think I have too many neurons that are close together in my brain and they fire too much at the same time. I have way too many emotions, especially for a girl. Well, I also get like synesthesia when I listen to songs and sometimes listen to audible things.
That is when sound makes colors and things like that, which you can see the auras of things, and I still want to know what my voice looks like color-wise. Do I have to speak in order for you to do that? Pressure! You're making that duck face again.
It's because I don't want to say what I want to say.
Say it. I won't be offended.
When you're excited, the color of your voice is like that yellow color, that like muted pastel yellow. Mm-hmm. And then when you're talking normally, it's like a gray.
That's awesome.
Okay, I didn't want to offend you because they're not like super pretty colors.
Well, that's kind of my personality.
Yeah, it's like a
monotone.
It's like a pastel gray and a pastel pink or pastel yellow.
Can you see your voice?
No.
No. What's Bradley's voice? Her fiance?
I'd have to hear it again.
Oh, you have to hear it again? That's so weird.
It changes depending on what their emotions are too, or what they're talking about. I feel like his would be green and brown. Mm-hmm. It depends on how he's talking. Like if he's cranky right now, it's definitely like a brown color. But when he gets excited about stuff, it's like a dark forest green.
Can you use that to like see if I'm lying?
I've never tried it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna just give you straight lies. Are you ready?
Are you actually gonna give me straight lies?
Straight lies.
Okay.
Okay. I am a hippo. The sky is green. I can fly through the air with my wings on my toes.
I feel like the frequency changed and not the color.
Well, I also feel like I sound dumb, so that's why my voice went up.
I think they have to be more believable lies for the people on the interwebs to try and feel like I am actually doing something.
Oh, let's see. I don't know any good lies.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Your laugh is like a more bright yellow.
Interesting.
Yeah, when I listen to music, I get colors a lot, and the way that the colors move changes too. But
yeah. Like Ratatouille.
I was listening to a song the other day from MGK, and he was I had never heard the song before. And there was one verse about God, and then the verse after God, he was talking about, I believe it was a friend, and I want to say it was a friend that passed, because I feel like I could understand who he was talking about, even though he wasn't saying names. And then the verse switched to his mom. Okay. Which makes me uncomfortable, because the song was really good, and I just want to give him a hug. But also it's MGK, and I can't do that, because I can't just mom everybody all the time.
Wow.
I've just talked to so many people now that I've been doing readings professionally, and it just breaks my heart a lot for the things that happen to people and the souls that I talk to. And since we're talking about Clairsentience, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to express to people, if I haven't done it enough already, for the people that are like, I wish I could be a medium. When I'm giving readings to people, if you've seen some of our TikTok lives, there was one man who was very upset about his things being touched and someone living in his house and his wife not being treated exactly how he thought she should be treated. Not that she was being treated badly. She was literally just living with family members with their dog, but he was absolutely livid about the things that were being moved that were his and the things that he couldn't control since he had passed on. And if you watch that TikTok video, you can see me getting angry. And it's not because I'm angry, it's because I am channeling his anger.
Right.
I physically feel the anger of the spirits. We were talking to my mom in the podcast before this, and she shares a story about a little boy that was lost in a fire, and the older sister couldn't save him, and it was basically her fault that her younger brother perished in a fire. But what happened was her father took the blame for her little brother dying in a house fire, and it was her fault. And I literally felt the anguish and sorrow that this man felt his entire existence because we were channeling him. That's why I started crying. Oh. Because honestly, it was a happy story, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Because in the end, it was good. But I felt his absolute world-crushing regret for
Why
it.
was he regretful? Because he thought it was his fault?
Yes.
Oh.
But even though he doesn't feel that way anymore, no, he does. He still feels like it was his fault.
Got
even
you.
though the outcome ended up being okay.
Mm-hmm. Even though that was probably supposed to happen.
Yes. So literally imagine if someone takes your heart and just fucking squeezes it like a juice box.
Yeah, you have to experience emotions that you haven't experienced in this lifetime. Like losing someone or losing a child.
And making it feel like it's your fault.
Yeah.
That's a big thing to carry. And that happens almost every reading.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all different, but...
the things you're talking about most of the time are vulnerable crap, my dude.
Yeah. So, that's another thing of clairsentience.
Oh, there's also one more thing with the physical sensations. A lot of times people will explain when they ask spirit things. This, I feel like, is more if clairsentience is more of your main forms of communication. But when you ask spirit things, a lot of times they will get chills and things like that, and that's like an overwhelming yes. But chills are a sign of clairsentience.
Weird.
Yeah, which I also forgot to mention for clairaudience, ringing in people's ears.
Oh, yeah. People get that a lot, and they're like, tell me what this means. And I'm like, well, if it's on your left-hand side, at least for me, it means that you're just perceiving normal metaphysical energy around you. So it's like within our plane of existence. But if it's on your right-hand side, that's like spirits being like, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee.
My spirit guide is on my left shoulder, though.
Mm-hmm. Most spirit
And
guides I
screams.
see on left. But that, I believe...
in my ear.
I believe that spirit guides are on our left because they have the ability
they're
to
there.
move things within our existence.
Yeah.
So...
But I think my little spirit guide dude sits on my left shoulder and screams in my left ear. And that's where all the wee comes from.
Got it.
Is him.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
So technically it could be a spirit, but they would have to be in our plane of existence in order to do that.
Yeah. Well, that's like the spirit guides. I mean,
So-
they're not within our plane of existence, but they have the ability to move things within our plane of existence.
So
which
is
is how
this-
you get signs and symbols.
Is the side thing, like your spirit side and your psychic side, is that like game for all mediums, or you just don't know because you've not talked to another medium?
I haven't talked to enough mediums.
Because your medium, like your mom seems to think that.
Yeah. My mom has almost similar things to me.
Well, I know that because you're related, but she seems to think that that's all mediums. Has she met another medium?
Probably.
Interesting.
She was talking about that Doris lady, I think. Doris Stokes, I think was her name.
Got you.
And she explained it the same way. She's way older than my
Oh,
mom. But I don't actually know because I've never looked up Doris Stokes. So hopefully she doesn't like that we're not saying her name, or we are saying her name. I feel like she's passed. She'll be fine. See if she's passed. I want to see. Hang on. Talk about something while I look her up. I feel
Or
like she
don't.
has big brown hair. Ah, she's so cute. She's so cute. Yeah, she's definitely passed. She has to be. Look at her.
She's a medium?
Yeah.
And she talked to your mom?
I don't think she talked to my mom. I think my mom watched things of her.
Oh, and she explains the sides and things like that? That's weird.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's actually a thing or if it's just for some people. Like, strictly right side is spirit and the left side is our realm. Because, like, that opens up a lot of things, like a lot of conversation. Because, like, would the spirit realm just be just on the right side of every human being?
She died in 1987. Doris.
Like,
I hope
if you
hear that we're talking about you. You're so cute. She's like, stop.
stop.
Ugh, why are you adorable? She's like, no, honey, you're adorable.
Oh, no, honey, you're adorable.
Oh, God, stop. Okay. I'll probably cut that out. What were you saying?
So, if you perceive things on your right side as the spirit realm and everything on the left side is of our realm, if you think about it, the spirit realm is just always on your right hand side, dimensionally. So, like, piece of paper analogy again. If you're on a piece of paper, there's always one direction in which the dimension goes out to the third dimension, right? So if a piece of paper is facing me and I'm on the right side of the piece of paper, I'm always going to be on the right side of the piece of paper because I'm in my dimension and they're in their dimension.
Yes.
until I get into their dimension. Then I can be on their other side.
Yeah. And the only thing that's
weird.
The only thing that's holding us to this dimension is physicalness of itself.
Yeah, so I wonder if all mediums perceive it that way, because it would make sense, dimensionally wise, that it's always on one side.
Yeah, like a map.
Yeah, it's weird.
I hope that's how it is. If there's any mediums out there that also get information how I do, let us know. Because I'd be super wicked.
Super wicked.
Not Wicca. Wicked.
Wicked. So, there are two other two Clairs that are left. These ones usually are said together. They are clear smelling and clear taste. So you have Clairalience and Clairgustance.
Yeah. And I get them usually when I'm talking to creatures.
I do not get any of that.
I love creatures. They're so
That's
cute.
weird.
I love talking to them. I talked to one. He was like this little tiny scruffy dog, you know, like the ones that you have to get groomed because their hair goes everywhere. And he was like probably the size of my notebook, Emily. And he was so cute. And he was showing me how he lives in the city, but his owner will take him to her mother's house where the woman has a backyard and grass. And what he does is he frog legs his little legs out behind him. And when his belly touches the grass, he's like, oh, it's so great. I love when the grass touches my belly. But he was like this little tiny chunky thing. And I was like, oh, I just want to squeeze your belly. It's so cute.
Wow. You like chunky things.
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, yes.
Big things and chunky things. But he wasn't chunky. He just was adorable. And just the thought of his little belly in the grass. Oh, goodness.
But yeah, she gets a lot of these kind of clairs from animals, because animals use a lot of scent things for information, the communication and all that.
I had a cat tell me that her owner burned dragon incense, and she did not like the smell of the dragon incense, and she made me smell it. I also had a dog that wouldn't go out into a hallway of where he was living because they sprayed weird things on the carpet and it like burned his nose, like the carpet freshener that they used or whatever. There was also a spirit in the hallway, but that's besides the point. And what else? I had another dog tell me that he didn't like his past owner's partners because the one that was mean, one wore too expensive and too ugly of shoes and smelled really bad, and the other one smelled nicely. And usually when they give me food tastes, I can discern the difference between crunchies and wet food or like kibble, because they give me the like not only the size of the crunchies or kibble, but also the texture and the taste, because it's a more muted taste, almost like you would with like bread. And wet food, they give me like a cold, almost metallic-y smell and taste as well, but they like it. So I don't get it as like something that's gross. I taste it how almost they would taste it, I guess.
Yeah, so do you get information like that from human spirits?
Em already knows the answer.
I think you do, you know?
Yeah.
You just don't realize it because
Probably.
It's more normal.
Yeah. Well, also my taste and smell is messed up beyond belief right now. Thanks, COVID. I don't have COVID anymore. I haven't had COVID for like 3-4 months, but all of a sudden my taste and smell is all messed up. Everything just tastes and smells the same, and it's poop. It makes me sad. Anyways, probably the most common taste and smell that I get or like taste from people is, one time I had somebody tell me what heroin smoke smelled like.
Weird.
That was a human thing, and it was a smell.
Have you ever smelled that before? I know
No, I've never been around drugs. I'm like,
I don't know.
I literally had to ask the person that I was talking to, my client. I was like, they're giving me a white, thick smoke, and it's very acrylic or acid smelling. I'm like, I don't know anything about drugs, and I don't know if this person was with drugs, so I don't want to assume anything bad. I'm like, but do you know what that would be? And my client was like, yeah, they were probably smoking heroin. Or no, it was meth. Sorry, they were smoking meth, not heroin. That doesn't make any sense.
Clearly, we know a lot about that.
Clearly. It was meth. Anyways, so now I know what meth smoke smells like because of a spirit, and also what it looks like.
Information that you need in your daily life.
Probably shouldn't be on a podcast. Sorry, guys. But that's
we
what
can
it's
have
like.
explicit content. We're not on YouTube.
There
is no algorithm.
That's what it's like being a psychic medium.
Being a psychic medium.
Yeah, I say it like you. It's funny.
You also get a bitter taste for people.
Yeah, when people are bad people, I was doing a reading for somebody where the soul was describing their possible accomplice in their killing or their death. And the way that the soul was describing this person was giving me a slimy, bitter taste in my mouth. And I said, I'm sorry to my client who I was talking to. I said, you know, what your friend is telling me is that this person, they're giving me a bitter taste in my mouth and a slimy feeling. I said, is this how this person was? I don't think that they were a good person at all. And my client goes, yep, that's exactly, I know who exactly you're talking about. And I was like, okay. So for people that are bad or mean, I get a bitter taste in my mouth. Or if they're slimy, they get a slimy taste in my mouth because, I don't know, it's what resonates with me.
It's less scary than seeing what they actually did.
Yeah.
So, bitter taste. Little less scary.
It makes sense. So that's Clairalience and Clairgustance. And I think it's interesting that I want to say I tried to look up where the Clairs came from, but it really, as much as I could find, was one, the Clairs go back to French names. So the French obviously named them, or somebody that liked, I don't know, naming things after French things. Yeah, or was French. Probably, so that makes me think like French. Tarot card era is when they started using those words, but I'm not entirely sure, and that would be like Renaissance, medieval era. But clairvoyance, or the ability to have psychic interpretation of past, present, and future, has been found in not only old pagan religious texts, but also Christianity as well as Jainism. So like, for instance, I guess the Christian saints had documentation of clairvoyant or clair abilities, as well as the individuals of Columba of Iona and Catherine Emmerich, Padre Pio, and Jesus himself. So, and I want to say, with that being said, and I want to say specifically in like Christian texts, but I'm not entirely sure, but religious text, usually when people talk about individuals having clairvoyant or clair abilities, metaphysical perceptions, it says in most religious cases, the ability to see things or have clairvoyance was attributed to a higher power and not thought of as an ability that lay within the person themselves. Which I have always wondered, I'm like, how am I able to do this? How am I able to do this? How do I do these things? Me, myself, and I.
You just got a big hole in your glass around you, and the other spirits around it are like, yo, Liv, I can talk to you through this little hole in your box.
I don't even think it's a hole, though. I think it's that for some reason, like a radio station or a radio or Bluetooth, I am somehow tuned into this frequency. And when I'm talking to specific people, it's like I have to do a little click notch, click, click, to get into their frequency to read their energy. Because again, I have my walls. I feel like my walls are like my dial. I just have to dial into the people that I need to talk to because I don't want to have my life overrun with all this information all the time. So again, like you said, I just have to pinpoint people in the energy soup, and that's me turning my little radio dial to click into their frequency and like read their radio waves. But I literally was doing research for one of our videos a couple weeks ago. Which one was it? I don't even remember now.
You're going to have to be more specific.
I know, we do so much content. But anyways, Em was like, you have to have a script. Oh, it was my signs and symbols.
Oh, yeah.
And Em's like, you have to have a script. I can't help you if you don't have a script. So come prepared with a script because it's your signs and symbols. We just need like a topic flow. I'm like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to do this. But while I was literally writing down things for signs and symbols and how I use the Clairs to interpret spiritual energy and how they give me energy during readings or in general, or information in general, using the Clairs, that's how they give me information and I'm able to do what I'm doing. It's not me that's doing it. I don't get information. I don't pull it. I don't grab it. It's nothing to do with me. I'm literally just the physical vessel, just the little radio that is spitting out information. But where the information comes from is from spirit. And it's guided and dictated and filtered through by not only the spirits I am talking to, but my spirit guides themselves. But most importantly, before a soul can tell you anything, and I mean anything, they have to get permission from a higher spiritual power to say the things that they say, because it cannot interfere with your free will unless otherwise dictated by a higher spiritual entity. So it's not about me. The fact that I think it's interesting that clairvoyance has been talked about in religious texts, but they say that the people that have claimed these sixth sense abilities say it doesn't come from me, it comes from somewhere else. I literally had that spiritual spanking 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, that's one of those things that you just accept as normal because you've had it so long. Because I've asked that question before, and I'm like, well, obviously the information is coming from my spirit guides. That's what they told me. Mm-hmm. Because I'm like, I don't know why people are talking to me all of a sudden, because it wasn't happening last year.
Because you're ready.
And my spirit guides are like, well, their spirit guides talk to me, and I talk to you, so that you can get the information in a way that makes sense to you. So obviously they're filtering the information for things that I'm allowed to know.
Mm-hmm. I just never looked at it that way.
Well, yeah, because you've been doing this since you were 8. You don't have questions about it. It just happens to you.
Yeah, I guess, and now that I'm doing it, I have questions. But
well, now that I'm like, well, this isn't normal, and you're like, well, what do you mean it's not normal?
It makes me happy.
Yeah, it's cool.
I like it.
Is that all your religious stuff? You got a lot of religious stuff written down.
Well, I didn't do the Jainism one. You want me to talk about that?
Oh, for sure. Let's do it.
Okay, so in addition to pagan religions and Christianity, Jainism is a religion over in the East, and they say that in the Jainism religion, or Jainism, I feel like that's redundant, yeah. Clairvoyance is regarded as one of the 5th kinds of knowledge, the beings of heaven and hell, or devas, and is said to possess, it says, in Jainism, clairvoyance is regarded as one of the 5 kinds of knowledge. The beings of heaven and hell, also known as devas, are said to possess clairvoyance by birth. And according to a Jainism text that I'm going to poorly try to pronounce, which is Svarthasiddhi, this kind of knowledge, aka clairvoyance, is called avadi, as it ascertains to matters in a downward range or no knowledge of objects within limits. And when I think of objects within limits in a downward motion, I think people that have clairvoyance have the psychic abilities of past, present, and future of things going on within the physical world. So objects within limits and in a downward position. Because when I think of spirit in heaven, I think almost a little bit above us. And I know it sounds really weird, but it's when I see things from them, if it's not a memory, but an observation from them, from spirit, I usually see it above, which is weird. Like from a higher point of view, physically. It's almost as if they're seeing things from a higher point of view.
Like in a different dimension. Like if they were the people holding the piece of paper that we are on.
Well, usually when I see things, yes. If I were to see things, imagine if like some weird little creature was up in the corner of the room right there, looking at us down from there. That's how I usually see it.
Okay, why everything's on the right side?
Makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
We are on the piece of paper and they are looking at us.
Yes. So I think it's interesting, again, going back to clairvoyance and how parapsychologists define it as past, present, and future, retrocognition, remote viewing, and precognition. And then the Jainism, definition is things within the physical world, or at least that's how I interpret the way they wrote it. But then what about if you're clairvoyant and I'm literally physically seeing a soul standing in my mind? And I can explain to you what they look like using clairvoyance, and I can explain to you what they sound like because I know they're from the South, because they use certain words within my mind to phrase sentences differently. And I can smell the smells that the dog that's standing next to them smells while they go hunting in heaven for rabbits, because this person's dog was their hunting dog, and I can see what the dog looks like. And then they show me this one time they went hunting and a boat fell over and they all both fell out.
Yeah.
That's not within our plane of existence, though.
Yeah.
It is, but it's from the past. But I'm seeing it within my mind's eye. It's weird.
You just got your telescope looking into dimensions and shit.
I like how you say that so quietly, just sitting there playing with your tarot cards like it's normal.
You put them in front of me. I can't not touch them.
I did not put them in front of you. You put them in front of you. Laughs. Knows it's true. So our next podcast is going to be about spirit guides.
Yeah. So like we said in the beginning of this podcast, a lot of these things don't necessarily are going to I don't know what I was about to say.
You're not going to experience them in the exact same manner that we do. It's going to be specific to you and how you interpret the world around you and the metaphysical world around you.
So don't let people tell you you have to experience your clairs in a specific way. You have to strengthen them in a specific way, because it's not going to help you. It's going to block you. But the best way to learn all your clairs and to tap into your intuition is to speak with your spirit guides, which is our next podcast. So make sure you guys check that out. Subscribe to our podcast. Also, check out our YouTube channel. We talk about this same topic, but you can see beautiful faces or something.
Uncomfortable laughter.
Also, if you guys have any stories with your Clair or have any other paranormal stories, make sure to go to metapsycKicks.com to the extras tab and
submit your stories.
Yes, just make sure they're original, because we will not use them otherwise. But we are planning on doing a listener's story where we read your stories live or on podcast, and Liv tells you what actually happened.
Or if I can see them. A lot of the times when people tell me stories, I get like in-depth viewpoints of the story, because I kind of see what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like our YouTube video that we did earlier, where I started channeling the spirits that my mother met earlier at a completely different time and place, which was interesting. Awkward laughter.
Awkward laughter. But yeah, so in our next podcast, we will be covering spirit guides again, because you guys asked for it. And while you guys wait, check out all our social media, check out our other podcasts, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
We are your PsycKicks.
Wow.
Stop laughing! I hate you so much. God. It's ruined. Soiled it.
Soiled it.